So tell us, what is human trafficking?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at its core, in South Dakota and federal law are consistent and share the same definition of this issue. And it has a very complex and dense legal definition. So, I'll try to break it down in a very plain language, accessible way. At its core, it's the use of force, fraud, or coercion to exploit a person for one of two purposes, either commercial sex or forced labor. So oftentimes the victim services field will break it down using a model that they'll call the AMP model, AMP, with the A standing for action. And the legal definition starts with all of these laundry list of verbs that they'll describe it as the transporting, the recruiting, the harboring, and it's got all these action verbs about you're taking some sort of action with a person. And so then we shift into the means. Well, if you're transporting a person, if you're harboring them, if you're recruiting them, the natural next question is how, or how are you getting that person to do that against their will, right? And so the means are that force, fraud, or coercion, that a person is being physically forced through the use of physical violence, often sexual violence, kidnapping, all forms of different assault. We've truly seen it all. So through the use of physical force is a very common tactic that you'll use against a person. It also includes fraud and coercion, which overlap and intertwine a bit, that it starts out as a seemingly above board consensual relationship, but then the terms of that agreement or relationship change, that it becomes very quid pro quo, that it's hinges upon expectations or demands. In the labor trafficking side, maybe the conditions of employment were misrepresented. It could be misrepresenting the conditions or the wage itself, the withholding of wages. It's truly can take a lot of different forms. The final part of that model, the P, is so why do this to another person? Why transport them by the use of physical force? Why? And it falls into those two buckets, either to they're forced their labor services, that you're using their labor and benefiting from the labor that they provide for your business, your industry, maybe even your household and domestic servant situations. I think of St. Josephine Bakita on that front too. Her story certainly had a lot of domestic servitude or commercial sex. And so to break that term down too, commercial is really, it's the buying, selling, or trading of sexual acts. And so that's that sex trafficking that we probably have heard about most commonly, that at its core, it's commercializing and commodifying something that in a way in which God never designed it. And that's why I think why I've been called to human trafficking specifically as a Catholic woman, I think is because of what an affront it is to the dignity and sanctity of life. Kind of like you said at the very beginning of this conversation, that it's truly the buying and selling or trading of human lives at its core. Yeah.